Hello, this is a short video, I always say that, about the idea of being in your lane and staying on your path, whatever that is, and not comparing, and basically the sentiment of you're on a trip and you're in, let's say you're in a vehicle. There's this term I've come across called passenger consciousness, which I've got from John Martin, who was a human design wisdom figure. The reason I'm inspired by this person is because he was so cynical, and it's nice and refreshing and necessary to have a cynical voice from someone in this sort of, I guess, in a discipline that has been sort of corrupted by new age spiritual narcissism kind of nonsense, and all this like manifestation pop kind of crap of positive vibes only, and like the idea that you get to choose what your life is and what you do. And the reason I'm talking about this and the idea of passenger consciousness is because I'm finding a great deal of solace in the idea that I am actually, like, a lot of what I've been doing, a lot of what I've tried to force myself to do creatively and in life have been coming from a place of inauthenticity and the need to perform, the need to strive, and thus they've been met with, these impulses have been very strong and I've accomplished a lot through them, but they've also been met with a lot of resistance in my internal moods and emotions, in my internal sense of self-regulation, in my body, and in all sorts of ways. And the resistance and procrastination piece is, there's so much creativity content which is about overcoming resistance, and I talked about the war of art and overcoming resistance before. And I almost want to caveat my own position, because my position's changed, and I think that I'm believing less and less in free will and feeling more and more like there's nothing to do, there's nothing to strive for, there's nothing to try harder at. I think a lot of the pressure we put on ourselves to do things or create things or achieve things comes from inauthenticity and trauma and people pleasing, and even if it's like an internal thing, it's like wanting to be seen, wanting to accomplish something, all of these things, a lot of them don't come from an authentic, genuine place, and we think they're authentic and genuine because we feel a deep urge, drive, desire, but actually when they're met with resistance, really, I'm not saying like resistance isn't always, like, it just is what it is. So this idea of like being a passenger and relaxing into the vehicle that is your body, that is simply doing stuff, it's moving, and if you like just let it move around, and when you encounter resistance, just letting it go and dropping it, and essentially like not listening to anything that comes from the mind, like that is the current place I'm at. And that's even with my own attachment to things in the past, like, oh well, I have this creative project that I started, therefore I need to finish it. I have this album that I said I'd do and get out in 2024, therefore I need to do it. But really, like, there's been so much resistance to that album coming to fruition in life circumstances, in relationships, in so many ways. And I look back at 2021 when I finished First Love, my first album, and I did have this thing of like, yeah, I'm going to overcome, I'm going to get over all the block, and I'm going to like just mix these songs myself and release it and put them out there. And yes, in some ways that's good, I'm proud of it, it's good to do it, it's good to have something out in the world. At the same time, no one asked for it, I don't feel like I've got any reciprocation or reward from it really. Like, I've got a few people who like my music, I don't feel like that's, it's validated my life purpose by releasing that music. And I think when there are things that are effortless and flowy and there's no resistance to, it's almost like uncomfortable for our mind. And I've been in this position where I've been thinking like, the things in my life where I feel effortless impulse to just like get on with them and do them often involve other people, often involve things that I've been asked to do by others, and I've been in a position where I resent that, because I'm like, but I've got my own ideas, I've got my own things I want to work on. Even my attitude to teaching, even my attitude to having a job and working for other people and guiding other people was marred by this sort of selfish attitude. And I'm not saying selfish in a bad way, it's just an attitude that was to say, my mind says there are more important things and more important things to prioritise, and these are what they are, and I should be doing them. And what if, this is the real crux of what I'm trying to say here. What if I'm not here, and this might speak to you as well, what if I'm not here to be an artist? What if I'm not here to be successful as a creative person for my own creative work? Sure, some people might resonate with it, some people might encourage me, some people might say, oh yeah, that gig was great, you performed well, blah blah blah, whatever. It's not bringing me the things that I feel I need to feel successful. So that is like some sense of foundation or financial stability and consistency. Yeah, some general consistency and routine consistency. And also probably a connection with others that is beyond this like sort of fleeting superficial comment on social media or someone says something. And it's ironic that my encounters, my own pursuit of my creative stuff, because have this thing of comparing myself to others and thinking like, well, it's my trip and my journey is to be an artist and a musician or a successful person who does a bit of coaching and guiding and teaching on the side, because I know that that's what I'm really authentically always good at. That's why I've been invited to do it. What if that isn't the case, and what if I am, I don't know, like, what if all that stuff's not important? There are people fundamentally who effortlessly, insatiably pursue their art and their craft and don't let anything else get in the way, and just manifest it, just sort of do it. And I can berate myself all I want about if I just change these habits, if I just change these patterns, if I just overcome resistance, if I just journal, if I just realise my own worth, if I just constantly grapple with this process of wanting to bring something forth and then not quite doing it effortlessly, if I just can let that go, like what is left? And it feels like a kind of position of maturity. It feels like a rejection of all these ways that we fetishize and build up the idea of the, I guess, A, individual creator or creative person, genius, whatever, and B, this kind of solopreneur success, online, whatever, both of which I feel like I've kind of gone for in some way, but it's not really been correct or right for me. And with that, the resistance, the relief comes, because it's like, oh, so I've like been watching other people's trips, journeys, and to quote John Martin, who I mentioned earlier, like, that's not my trip. I don't need to try, basically. I don't need to do anything. I just need to relax into my own vehicle, move where my body moves me, stay in a sort of embodied state of awareness, ignore my mind when it's trying to tell me to do things that are probably not important, that nobody has asked for. Even this video, it's like, why did I set up a YouTube channel? Because I thought it's something I should do, because I thought, oh, I should have a YouTube presence, I should have attraction marketing or something, I should offer free guidance of value to people who might be the people that want to work with me. In that, I focus more on that than cultivating the connections and opportunities that really are available in my network already. So it's amazing how our minds will kind of like paint this picture of the grass is greener. Anyway, I guess I also just want to caveat a little bit about all of the prior stuff that's come from Heart School. I woke up stupidly early the other morning, and I wrote this thing called like Heart School is Dead, and it was basically wanting to make this like grandiose statement that Heart School it no longer exists, and it was just an artwork and it was all inauthentic anyway. And I did believe it for a while, but only in the same way that I believed that I was in love with a drummer that I didn't know when I wrote Overlove. So it's like my life and my creations are almost like self-testing, like I'm a guinea pig, this is what's happening. Heart School as an idea was the product of all of these things that I've been observing in the communities and areas that I've been part of, from art school, from the academic world, the university art system, and then the spiritual wellness industries and the creative industries. And almost me thinking that, genuinely thinking for a while that I can be someone that survives in that online space and just like uncritically creates a brand. When artists and people, I guess with like my level of cynicism and criticality, which I was rejecting for a while and trying to bypass, essentially, yeah, I mean, I don't know what I was thinking, but I think we had this like post-pandemic love bubble kind of, yeah, like everyone can be like an online guru or something. And I recognised that there was so much inauthenticity there in a lot of the message of Heart School, and I almost want to delete it all. I want to delete this channel for a start, and then I look back at the videos and think, okay, well, there's probably something in some of those that might be important, and the right to be forgotten and the internet is not really a thing anyway. But I've been having this message, like this feeling, this urge for a while now, especially when I'm in a luteal phase in my menstrual cycle, and I feel this like primal rage. The message has been like, hate school is hate school. We need to learn how to like hate and what to do with anger and visceral rage and cynicism and rage and hatred of community and all those things that were sort of, I think I suppressed because I was in this sort of like, yeah, Heart School, it's all about being heart-centered and like being witnessed and love and all this shit that like I kind of did believe, but now I'm not sure because I feel like there's just so many spaces where people are offering services and making people feel valued and held and seen, but only in the extent that they are being offered a paid for service. So like having space held for them, or like, you know, having processes or initiations or something that is essentially, you know, it's not a genuine thing. Of course, I'm not saying that it's not valid to offer that as a service. It is. It's just, for me, it doesn't feel like the right kind of thing right now. And I feel distrustful of this online creator economy bubble that is trying to, and the agenda to keep people online, to keep people dependent on healing modalities as a remedy to the things that the online immersion and the lack of actual community connection and the lack of being able to interact within our own networks. Social media and all the coaching and whatever services like self-help, self-improvement, sort of the self-help frenzy, insatiable, what's the word I'm looking for? It's almost like the insatiable self-help thing. The insatiability of like self-improvement, basically, in the toxic world of self-help. All those things are maybe like trying to make us feel like we are wrong and there's a problem, and I'm not prepared to market anything in the way that there's something wrong with you, you need my services to get unblocked, for example, if we're talking about creativity. I almost like want to operate from a state of like, you're already perfect, you're already fine, even all your rage, block, procrastination, sabotage, all that, like even all your negative thoughts, negative self-thoughts, depression, anxiety, whatever it is, like that's all fine, and maybe it's actually useful to have all that because it's actually telling you things about the fact that your mind is commentating your life in an unhelpful way, and even that's okay. Essentially, like, it's not like nothing's okay and everything's okay, but it kind of is. So from that position, there's no transformation. Like, there's no transformation economy. There's no epic, like, community promise, love bombing, kind of like narcissism experience of, ooh, you can become something other than you are. like who you are and who I am actually right now in this sort of like blocked way, like blocked sort of hermity mode that I've been in, where I'm not a professional creative person. I'm not going to make it as a musician or, you know, fine artist in one discipline. I'm not going to be like some kind of online trailblazing entrepreneur wellness expert. I don't know what I am, I don't know where I fit, but essentially my message to you now is whoever you are, whatever you're doing, maybe you're okay as you are, maybe possibly the pressure that you put on yourself to be creative or be something else or do something more or to change in any way is actually mind chatter that can just be observed. And perhaps a lot of this stuff and the resistance we encounter that we think is the problem is actually a beautiful sign that we actually don't need to do that which we feel resistance towards. And that's hard to come to terms with. Like, I've got a manuscript for a book, Paris Syndrome, that is somewhat finished. I started it 5 years ago. Maybe someday it'll be finished. Maybe this resistance thing that I have to finish in it will never be resolved. If I was a commercial author and I had like an agent or something or an editor who was like, you know, yeah, we need to get you unblocked so you can produce your next book, so we can make money out of you. Like, I know that all this stuff that tries to rush the creative process and tries to get us unblocked is probably in some ways well intentioned, but a lot of it also comes from a commercial interest, and a lot of it also comes from this agenda that says that we have to be constantly producing and doing things. Yes, there's a commercial need to be consistent, and also the thing about having branding and brand consistency, when the creative process and the things we want to do are like might be completely the opposite to that. Like, I feel right now almost like I actually unpublished Overlove, and I've not made a song and dance about it, but I unpublished it and I don't know if I will republish it. Maybe that's a stupid thing to do. It's a bit like, you know, what we always taught people in art school was like, never throw anything away, never tear up your work. We can assess everything, we want to see every aspect of your process. But ultimately, we need to be able to throw shit away and discard it and disown it and say, no, that wasn't me, I'm not interested in that, that was just an experiment, that was just a phase. As an artist, I retain the right to fuck off everything that I've ever done, throw the baby out of the bathwater, say I'm not an artist anymore, say it was all just coming from my trauma, unhealthy coping mechanisms, and a need to be seen or loved or validated or successful in some way. And then I have also reserved the right to change my mind about that and say, actually, oh no, I got an impulse the other day to start watercolours and I want to do watercolour paintings now. Anyway, watch this space for my watercolour series, and if you look at any of my old videos or my old stuff, just bear that in mind, and bear that in mind with yourself as well. It's like, you don't have to be fixed, and there's nothing wrong, and resistance is a message. Can be a message from the body and the nervous system that everything you're trying to push yourself to do is actually not necessary. Thank you for watching.